Hello, this is Raphael from Running Our Typesetting, and today we're going to talk about preparing a manual index, i.e. you're not using Word's automatic index feature for typesetting. Now here is an index that I received. It's quite a big index. And if you see, it looks very professional. There are end dashes in between the numbers. The parentheses are in Roman with the text in italic. It's really looks like it's been done very nicely, and if you scroll through you think great. However, when we reveal all the little spaces and stuff, okay, then we click here, we see something very interesting. Okay, so we're going to scroll down, we're going to look. I haven't actually and we see here Ancient Near East, but what's happened is that this is index level 1 and this is index level 2, as is this and as is this. But if we look carefully, if we triple click on the paragraph, we notice that the paragraph begins with ancient and ends with 65 to 67. In other words, this level 2 is not actually a level 2. This is actually part of the paragraph of Ancient Near East. And the reason why is because the person who prepared the index hit the space key, noticed the text went to the next line, and decided that this is fine. And it looks fine. Now it does look fine here, but remember when it's typeset, the size of the text is going to change and the book's going to change. So let's pretend the text was 8 points. And now we see that creation, not that we'll ever do an index in 8 points, but we might. So I'm going to zoom in. Now we can see this is actually one entry, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, of course, a second level. So the first very important thing that must happen is that when the first level index is completed, then the enter key must be hit. And if you see here, when you hit the enter key, if you have this little symbol, this symbol is called a pilcrow. If the pilcrow in the menu is hit, then it shows for a paragraph there is a pilcrow here. And then also here, rather than using multiple spaces to get to the next line, again the enter must be hit. But now we have a problem. Well, this problem comes up a lot. The problem is that this is, as we said, level 1 index, but this is level 2. And we want it visually to be indented, okay, just like phrasing is indented. Now the temptation here to indent, there are different ways in Word to indent. One way would be to do spaces. We've indented, but that's terrible. Another way is to use a tab. The problem is that Microsoft Word tries to be clever and converted this tab into a proper indent. And you're going to say, what's wrong with that? Let me just show you though. If you type a tab in Word, it will create this arrow with the pilcrow. Take the pilcrows away, you don't see it, but there's a... So when we type a tab normally, we can see this tab character, but what happened here is it didn't show a tab character. And the reason why is that if we go into the paragraph settings, it has indented the text, you say 0.31 of an inch, okay? If I now press cancel and put my cursor on this paragraph, then we can see that the indentation is 0.15 of an inch. Now, it should be 0, to be honest with you, but that's what's been prepared in this text. Now, what we really want to do, an index usually has 1, 2, and sometimes 3 levels. In theory, it could have even more, but it's very hard to follow. But what really should happen is that the levels, and in this, I believe in this index are only 2 levels, should be distinguished with more than simply indentation, because Unless you're an expert in Word, it's very hard to control that indentation. And then if you're an expert in Word, then you should be doing it as follows. So there's two ways to prepare this text in a way that's going to be useful for typesetting without mistakes. What you have to remember is that if I click here, I see there's a paragraph, and I click here on the paragraph because all the options, all these annotations and special hanging and first line, and space before and space after, this is all going to be ignored when it comes for typesetting. It's going to be thrown away, as is the font and the size. So the person preparing the index can really do whatever they want. But what we really want to do, the best option, is here, rather than indenting by hitting a tab, but rather the best way possible is to actually create a paragraph style. Now I've done a video on paragraph styles, but just if I click here, see this little arrow over here, there's an arrow here for the paragraph, this is the arrow for the styles. So I can create here, by pressing this A+, I can create a new style. I can call this style index level 1. And I like to color things, and this way I can see what's going on. Okay, so I can do blue. Now that's actually all that's necessary. Now to make things go a bit more quickly, I would assign a shortcut key. Do that again, format, shortcut key, and we'll just do shortcut key control 1 because it's index level 1. If you want to be very sophisticated, you can go into the paragraph and you can say, you can make it look the way that you want here. I'm just going to leave the default settings because that's okay. And now what I've done is, by just hitting control 1, okay, I can now apply the style. Now this would work much more efficiently if it actually did change when I hit control 1. For some reason it didn't. Let me just right click again. I obviously made a mistake. Format, shortcut key. So I did control 1. I forgot to press assign here. Okay, so it didn't do anything. Okay, so now I can highlight all my entries. I do just hit control 1. Here I'm now going to create a new style. Okay, and I'm going to call it index level 2. Index level 2. Now if you really want to be sophisticated, you can base it on index level 1. But I'm not going to bother that. I'm going to be very lazy here, and I'm just going to give it a different color, and I'm going to give it another shortcut key, and this time I'm going to remember to press assign here. Okay, and now I can just do control 2 and now control 1. And what's critical here is that when I bring in the text from Word, then even if this looks all wrong, and even if the font, I'm not going to do it on Times New Roman size 12, and I'm not going to use these particular indents, then everything is going to come across much more nicely. Now, if you really want to be nice, when you're dealing with the headings over here, you can create a new style called index head. Okay, making sure it's a paragraph style. Give it a different color so that we know what's going on and we're not confused. Let's give it nice burgundy here, and I'm going to give it a shortcut key this time. I'm going to control 7, why not, and assign it so that it'll do it. And this way, if you've got within the index more complicated things, and you can assign it more carefully. Now let's go ahead and see what would have happened if I hadn't. So if I now go to Babel, Isaac Babel, right, again pressing this Pilcrow shows all these hidden characters. So it looks right here, but if I now do control 1, still looks right. It does look right. But what's going to happen is that when it goes into typesetting, I'm going to be removing all the extra spaces. Because you don't have extra spaces, and it'll go like this. And also here, Babylonian Talmud, these extra spaces are going to be removed, but that will be okay. But this won't be okay because there are no paragraph returns. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what happens when this goes for typesetting. Okay, whoops, I accidentally deleted a number, which is not good. That would not happen in typesetting. Control 1, control 1. And then in typesetting, this would be, if this was just left by itself and there was a paragraph style, then that would be indented. It's bad if it's indented, but if it's not indented, it's even worse. Okay, so what needs to happen is we need to have the style index level 2, and we have to here put a hard return. A hard return means we hit the enter key on our keyboard, and that's what needs to happen. Okay, and C also. Is C also a continuation of 68? Let's make this text much smaller. So is it supposed to be over there, or is it supposed to be on the next line? So that's something that you, as the person preparing the index, have to decide, and we do that. Now, if paragraph styles scare you, right, and as I said, I have created a separate video on paragraph styles, then what you can also do is you can just highlight the text and choose a color from here and say, and then index level 1 will be red, and then index level 2 would be a different color. But the disadvantage of highlighting, oh, and it's very important, must mention, do not be tempted to use the highlighter tool. When you highlight text, unfortunately, this highlighting of text does not move across to typesetting, to InDesign. And the other problem is that if you choose to highlight in yellow, and then you choose to highlight something in a different color like red, you cannot, even within Word, search for red highlighting as opposed to yellow highlighting. You can only search for highlighting. So this would not be good afterwards to fix. This cannot be fixed up. So the big advantage of using styles, which as you can see wasn't very difficult to do, is that we can use a shortcut key on our keyboard to apply the styles. And what I would personally do would be highlight all the text in one go, Control 1, make all the text a style, and then you can go in and fix it. So it's very, very important. So in this particular index, I spent many, many hours cleaning it up because I had to go here. Okay, I had to then make this Control 1, and then I had to fix this and make that Control 2, and then I had to put an Enter key in, make that Control 2. These extra spaces will get rid of afterwards. And there were hundreds of corrections for the client afterwards, which obviously is financially less ideal, and more importantly, will make a less accurate index. So it's very, very important that if you're creating an index, to invest a certain amount of time in the learning how to use paragraph styles. And here they are over here, paragraph styles. You can have them floating, you could have them looking different colors by pressing the preview here. And I would strongly recommend watching my video on paragraph styles. I hope this video has helped, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.